like these guys. Yeah, but I don't know. Anyways, tomorrow we'll use bone tech. Next either I will get the deformation ones from Xeon and use the set so that we don't have any next time. We can use Xeon only. Xeon has an extensive inventory there actually. Only thing is we have to sit with them and discuss actually. Okay, fine. Yeah, we do. Bone tech is very good in terms of reduction and I don't think you guys are living. You guys are living. How? ಮಗಳದು ಫೋಟೋ ಇಲ್ಲ
ಮಗಳದು ಫೋಟೋ ರಮ್ಯಾ
ಇಲ್ಲ ಅದನ್ನ ಇನ್ನು ರಿಲೀಸ್
ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ
ಈಗ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಇನ್ನು ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೋದು.
ಏನು ಹೇಳೋ
ಏನೋ ಹೇಳಿ
ಏನಂತ
ಅಲ್ಲ ರತ್ನಪ್ಪದ
ಎಲ್ಲ ಸೂಪರ್ ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡೆಡ್ ಸೂಪರ್
ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅದು ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ
ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ನಾವು
ಈಗ ಅವನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಕರಿತೇನೆ ಒಂದು 5 ನಿಮಿಷ ಕೊಟ್ಟು
15 minutes we can stay.
ಹಾಂ
ಅಸೆಂಬಲ್ ಮಾಡೋದೇ ಇವಾಗ 15-20 ಮಿನಿಟ್ಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಊಟ ಆಗಿದೆ
ಆಯಿತು.
ಊಟ ಆಗಿರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಸೆಂಬಲ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಕಷ್ಟ. ಖಾಲಿ ಹೊಟ್ಟೆ ವೆರಿ ಈಸಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಅಸೆಂಬಲ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ.
ಸೆಷನ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಮೆಸೇಜ್
ಬನ್ನಿ
Sir, I saw. Yes. See, basically, she's collapsing. Basically, the neuromuscular element. I mean, that's why we should go to S1 and treat it. The only important thinking is to do at alpha S1 in fact. Not so much at the the base of the construct should be strong.
So unfortunately, Vinay has given asked me to speak about nutrition.
Yes.
Major disclaimer: I am not.
There is no time for autophagy. So there is no time for autophagy basically, and this leads to accumulation of mutations. So basically, what happens is autophagy is our recycling, like all old cars we sell or get repaired. Multiple times we go for repair, we get a new car. It's just like that. So all the cells in our body are getting recycled continuously, and if there is no recycling, I think then we may have to get a new car and we may have to leave this body. So we have to allow time for our body to recycle itself. Otherwise, we may have to check out earlier than expected. So one of the major advice from the nutrition perspective is we have to do some sort of fasting. We may do something called intermittent fasting also every day, eating period of around 6 to 8 hours and then 16 hours of fasting is also okay. If you don't want to do it once in a week, 24 hours fast. There are many varieties of fast. Some people fast for 3-4 days in continuous. So that is about fasting. The second one is fructose. 150 years back, our average fructose consumption was around 5 grams per day. In fact, even now, our gut has capacity to safely absorb and treat fructose around 5 grams per day. Any excess more than 5 grams per day is going to be not a nutrition, it's going to be a toxin for our body. I'll tell you how it's going to be. So current average is around 2000% more than the. Here, our average consumption is around 2000% more than what we are supposed to eat per day, sugars. Okay. So by fructose, I don't need to say only fructose. In our body, whenever there is an excess glucose, it is automatically converted into fructose easily. And so almost all the things that we see, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, other chronic conditions are associated with excess glucose and fructose. So fructose and glucose, we think they are same, but they are not same. One is a 6 molecule ring, another one is a 5 molecule ring. The oxygen in the 5 molecule ring is highly reactive. As compared to oxidative capacity, it's around 7 times more. Fructose is having higher oxidation stress. So, because of the difference in structure, it is also metabolized differently. Whenever we take, let us say, 800 grams of glucose, 80% of that glucose is metabolized in the muscles. So, only 20% of the glucose comes to the liver. And if we do a short walk, 5 to 10 minutes walk, even that glucose uptake is enhanced, so we will not get the sugar peak. So our blood sugar levels will remain same. So advice typically we have to give for all diabetics is after every meal should walk at least for 5 to 10 minutes. That is the best way to reduce the glucose peak. That is because 80% of glucose is going to the muscle and only 20% goes to liver. So liver metabolizes into various things. Major of it is glycogen. It is required for future storage. Now, as compared to the glucose, fructose is a whole different ball game. Maybe in our first year biochemistry we did not know the importance of this. I think now is the time to reflect. So what happens? 100% of the fructose which goes into our bowels is absorbed directly into liver. Fructose cannot be metabolized by any other tissue except for liver. Only liver is taking the 100% load. So if we drink one glass of Coca-Cola, it is like a tsunami inside the liver. We don't see it, but it is there. Because muscles do not take up fructose, it's like a huge burden on the liver. Okay, so what happens? And the glucose metabolism is very, very tightly regulated. If there is an excess, it goes to glycogen. If it is not there, it is made into triglycerides. And we can, if you see the older slide, even glucose can become triglyceride, but we need to work really hard to make a triglyceride molecule from glucose. That's not the case with fructose actually. Because the load is so much, 100% of fructose goes to the liver, and the metabolites are entirely different from what we find. There is no glycogen here. We see many other new molecules, AMP, uric acid, which leads to inflammation. So one of the primary causes of diabetes or any other chronic disease is inflammation. There is no inflammation in glucose metabolism. But with this, each one molecule of fructose will give rise to one molecule of uric acid. Uric acid is we call it as an inflammasome. There is something called NLRP3 inflammasomes. It is like a switch. Whenever we want an inflammation, whenever we have an infection, we want to activate inflammation. NLRP3 inflammasome switches on. Body goes into inflammation mode. So whenever we take one molecule of fructose, one molecule of uric acid is produced, and we are activating an inflammatory pathway. And chronic inflammation is one of the major pathway for all the chronic diseases that we see. And not only that, if you see this pyruvate comes here, and there is something called CPT1, which is an enzyme required for oxidation of fatty acids, proteins, and glucose. So that is inhibited. So we think we are eating something, but what it is doing is it is shutting off the TCA cycle in the mitochondria. So it's actually reducing the ATP levels.
even if you see the top part, ATP is converted into ADP and which becomes uric acid. So the ATP levels actually fall whenever we eat uh, one molecule of fructose. The ATP levels go down. So this is the difference between two mice models. Same isocaloric load of fructose and glucose was given, and those who take fructose they become obese and metabolically they develop metabolic syndrome. So basically, the fructose, we think it is food, but what it does is it blocks the oxidation of the glucose as well as fatty acids. So actually, the active energy, that is ATP levels, will actually be less, and it is a the whatever energy that we are going to get is going to get stored, and it is not getting converted to ATP actually. So how it does is this one. So all the ATPs which are already in our body will be converted into AMP, then it will become uric acid, which will lead to inflammation. Not only that, it blocks AMP kinase, which is required for ATP production, and it also blocks mitochondrial enzymes. So why this fructose does it? Why nature has allowed it to become like this is fructose. Whenever we see in nature, that means there is an abundance of energy. So body goes into storage mode than on metabolic mode. So what happens? All the energy which is coming from fructose will go into stored energy, fats. So that is why we see a lot of fat, liver fat, non-alcoholic liver fat disease, is because the fructose will get converted into triglycerides in the liver. And in fact, there have been studies whenever there is a load of fructose in the hypothalamus, the ATP levels go down, so we develop more hunger. So when we take one chips, that is they say no, nobody can eat this one. That is because they have put high fructose corn syrup along with the chips.
Because what are the foods which contain fructose? What are the foods which contain glucose?
Okay, let us say first I am coming to ultra processed foods. Okay, almost all the ultra processed foods, even those which are not sweet, they do have some sort of high fructose corn syrup. And as compared to sugar, which is we can only take 1 teaspoon, 1 spoon or 2 spoons of sugar. But if it is a high corn fructose syrup, there is no limit. We can just take it without ever knowing. And you take one bite, the hypothalamic ATP levels comes down, and you will crave for more. So actually, this mechanism is very important in bears. Those who go into hibernation, polar bears, once they eat few berries, they get more and more hunger. So they forage on a lot of fruits. So the exact same mechanism is there here. Our ATP levels comes down, we feel more hunger, we will not be able to stop. So that is a nature's way to make us eat more, which is being utilized by all the food companies to make us eat more.
There was this one that the corn which is fed to these cows, the pigs grow to the size of bigger than our Indian cows, and they all have diabetic.
Yes.
They're all blind.
Yes.
And the meat from them is supposed to have all the more of fat. That's not healthy either, and that's the cheap one.
Yes. Even the fish we say,
Corn.
fish is supposed to have a good sort of protein, but even their sort of corn-fed fish, they will also have all this abdominal.
What about the fructose in fruits?
So I will tell you, sir. If I give you orange, how many oranges will you eat? One, maximum 2. If I give one glass of glucose juice, how many orange juice? How many oranges will be there?
4 to 5.
4 to 5 will be there. After that, I will also give you some chips. You will eat that happily. So what happens is, nature, wherever there is fructose, there is always fiber. In nature, you would not find only fructose anywhere. So that fiber gives you satiation first, satiety. That will reduce the absorption of fructose. It will not. It's not like in one shot it will not go up. So there is a low absorption, and those fibers are very important for our gut microbiome. So it is not. So
So nature wants us to eat fiber, but fiber themselves are not tasty. So always fructose comes with the fiber. So fruits you can eat.
Eating fruits is safer.
Yes. But even there, as compared to 100 and 200 years back, whatever banana, it used to be very small. It used to contain a lot of seeds and very less sweet it was. So over a period of inbreeding over thousands of years, we have made them more juicy, bulky, and high fructose level. So even that is not good. But for all reasons, if you are having fruit by itself, it is reasonably fine, not fruit juice. So a glass of fruit juice is equivalent to one glass of Coca-Cola. We don't say it's definitely as inferior to Coca-Cola. We should not say that it is a healthy thing. So whenever we say one glass of orange juice and one corns, what do we use that? Cornflakes. That is definitely not a very good thing.
Fruits are supposed to be the best food what has been told by years, centuries. And now the way, of course, they contain fiber, I agree, but still there are a lot of fructose. Fruits mainly contain fructose.
Yes.
You don't contain glucose.
Yes.
So all the fructose, whatever we eat, fruit definitely would have fructose. And if this thing is really going to be useful, but I think everybody who has survived for 100 years mainly on fruits.
So I'm not telling you stop fructose. It should not be zero. I'm not telling that. Fructose is part of metabolism. Fructose is metabolized by the body.
In fact, they say
it is stored actually.
Fructose is a complex sugar.
Yes.
It will break into glucose later on. So your sugar levels are in fact steady, and over a period of time they are controlled. Other than you taking glucose only, because if you take another glucose, your sugar levels are likely to go up. Whereas if you take fructose, your sugar levels are not going to go up as high as, because the sugar is a complex, the fructose is a complex, it has to be broken into.
Fructose is a disaccharide. As soon as it goes into bowel, it will be split into one molecule of glucose and one fructose. It takes seconds.
Fructose will be in the liver.
Yes.
Fructose will convert into glucose in the liver.
It is a monosaccharide, sir. Fructose is a monosaccharide.
Yes, fructose is monosaccharide.
It's not a complex sugar. Complex carbohydrates are starch. That's a complex carbohydrate. This is a monosaccharide. Easily it gets absorbed. Yes. There is a transport mechanism. So one more thing. So fruits contain lot of flavonoids, antioxidants, fibers. So these are helpful for us. At the same time, we will not be able to take so much fructose by actually eating fruits. But if we take fruit juice, like we are going to the fiber part, we are yes, and we are adding sugar. Yes.
Now, like we compare, we call ourselves like humans. Like that is also one species. And whatever is the nature has designed, has kept all the things optimally in that particular fruit. So that when you eat a fruit, so it is normal. And if you multiply whole fruit,
Yes. Yes. Not as you make 4 hours, you make 1 glass. It will be nice drink. So it will be actually, if you drink an orange juice, that will increase your hunger. So if you go to McDonald's, if you take one, you don't want Coca-Cola but you want orange juice, that only makes you eat the rest of the things more. Because that is reducing ATP in your hypothalamus. So it will activate your hunger. So and the most dangerous part about the fructose is it rapidly reduces your ATP levels. So all the ATP is converted into AMP and it becomes a uric acid. Uric acid blocks the mitochondrial oxidation. And then but it is required for animals, because whenever they find some nice fruit or juicy things, they need to eat more and more so that they accumulate. Whenever they need, that will be utilized later in the body. So the problem with us is we are eating daily. We are eating 3 times a day.
This is true in the polar way.
Yes.
For 6 months they just
Yeah.
hibernation.
So 2 months before they go into hibernation, they actually develop all the features of type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, they get hyperinsulinemia, insulin sensitivity goes down, and they go and sleep. They fast. And again, so that is the time of winter where the food is not available. So they will go to sleep, hibernate.
Ancient humans were fitness are gathered. Our body is not designed.
So this mechanism is actually required for us to have enough stores for the period of starvation. So if that starvation is not there, this is not required for us. That's the point. Yes.
So some say ancient humans were understanding. Our body is not designed to eat 3 times a day. So our body is not at all designed. We are trying to make.
So any type of fasting is good. Any type of fasting. If you want to do overnight is good. So I told you autophagy is referred to recycling. For that at least you need 16 hours for the starting of autophagy process. So 16 hours is sufficient. Yeah. If you do intermittent fasting, autophagy will be around that period of time. Autophagy will be
Start early breakfast and don't eat lunch. Eat lunch and breakfast.
So I think this is about the fructose. And one more thing about the fructose is absorption. So as I told you, it makes us voracious whenever we take fructose. We want to take more. What happens? Even the level of absorption in the intestine and lumen, all the tight junctions which are there in some of the beaches. So that these are more rapidly absorbed. But if we are eating this on 24/7 basis, what will happen is all the lipopolysaccharides, gut microbiome, they are there. They go into the total alert. Yeah. So that will give us to a chronic inflammation. On an everyday basis, you are taking everyday basis there is inflammation. That is a chronic inflammation. There are 3 things which lead to diabetes mellitus. First one is stress, chronic stress, increased cortisol and norepinephrine levels, give rise to independent of whatever you eat. Even those patients who are having anorexia nervosa, who are having depression, they will develop diabetes and several if they are having high stress levels. So high stress levels is the one thing. Second one is chronic inflammation. All this inflammation is going like polysaccharides are entering our blood. Chronic inflammation by itself, without any excess calories, can lead to diabetes. The third thing is increased insulin levels, hyperinsulinemia. That is because of excess of calories. So many people think all this diabetes is just because there is an excess calorie as compared to the requirement. That is true, but that is not the only thing which is caused. What's the third? Hyperinsulinemia. So whenever we take more glucose, more starches, it leads to insulin resistance, that leads to diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, hypertension, everything. So the uric acid also one of the mechanism of uric acid is to block nitrogen oxide synthesis. So that leads to hypertension. So when we read in first year biochemistry, it was like glucose, fructose, there is no difference, but there is a lot of difference in these two, and that is why fructose is very bad. If you are not able to reduce the amount of your food, you don't want to have a fasting, at least avoid fructose. That is an easy way and immediate way to avoid
Fructose is high. You're saying it is high fructose also.
Yes.
So what amount of fructose is one high fructose?
So normally one sugar, crystalline sugar contains 50% fructose, 50% of glucose. So anything beyond that is high fructose corn syrup. Usually it will be around 55 to 65%. Depends on the manufacturer.
Okay, suppose you have an orange or orange juice, a glass of orange juice, just 3 to 4 oranges. Is that high fructose?
No.
It's not, right?
It is synthetically manufactured. Naturally there is no high fructose syrup. It is all synthetic.
So you can eat any number of fruits.
Yeah.
Fruits you can have any number of fruits.
Mango and then other fruits because I heard about the diabetes.
Yes.
If you eat mango, it doesn't
High glycemic.
increase blood sugar. So we are because
As I told you,
because that's a concept that people say diabetic don't eat mango. that's not the.
So whenever we are having excess glucose, it gets converted to fructose. So you don't need to have, if it's not like you are not eating fructose, you will not eat it. It will, body itself will make a fructose.
Slice of fruits.
Yes.
Slices of fruits.
So anything in, just like in life, moderation is
How many of you keep drinking little Pepsis?
Sanskrit, no, there is a.
Anyone? I stopped now.
No, I had once in this year because I didn't have
drink any.
I needed calcium.
I stopped completely.
Tried to 40 years.
No, the problem, that is okay. All of us know that blended drinks are bad, but we don't think fruit juice is bad. We think fruit juice is good. That is absolutely wrong. We just never be able to see.
Egg in free bread, white bread, seafood. So anything
But always, we don't have that right
Not all bad.
So I'm coming next. Whey protein is 100%.
Gym goers.
How will you make a whey protein? To make whey protein, you add banana or some fruit to make it as a smoothie.
Whey protein.
So suppose you took only whey protein. Suppose you took only whey protein
With water.
with water. In nature, you will never find a single source where only protein is there. Always protein is combined with fat.
Something else.
Protein is combined with fat. If you take only whey protein, you are going to get abdominal bloating, going to give constipation, absorption is limited, and it's going to alter the gut microbiome. So if you want good absorption, you should always take protein with some source of fat.
So, but there is a different prescription
No.
for bodybuilders.
No, that is wrong. All bodybuilders with all these things now.
No, but how do I convince my people to give up?
Whey protein is not
Record the video.
So if your son is going to be a professional athlete, bodybuilder, he can take whey protein.
All the youngsters now they want to be
Not it is actually implemented.
But
It's actually
some studies say whey protein is laced with a lot of estrogen because of the
Yeah.
fermentation.
that is there. And the thing is, you should understand that even the things will get metabolized to
glucose.
I'll go to the metabolism. Pyruvate. Pyruvate is an end product of all the things, proteins, fatty acids, glucose, everything gets converted to pyruvate. So if you are eating excess and if you are not doing enough exercise, all of them become an energy source and ultimately is going to become a
There's a point. See, whey protein should not be consumed if you are idle.
Yes.
Exercise and because the body needs protein, otherwise you go wasting.
So unless you are a bodybuilder, you don't need to consume whey protein.
Not the body. I'm telling you,
If you are into a professional sports, you can consume.
No.
But you should consume with the
I will tell you because these bodybuilders will take this protein because they cannot compete and are taking the natural.
Yes.
And it's that is difficult to build that much of
So,
muscle.
We have seen many people taking whey protein and other proteins, liver failure, AKI. Very common. Very common.
Recently, one of
So
the
all it
patients
is going to
with
concern
cancer,
is
18-year-old child. He came with allergy
So,
expenses
so,
that
this is
Then everyone is taking 1 month whey protein.
acute liver failure, acute kidney injury, and it is hypercoagulation.
Yeah, so
unless you are a professional professionally you are going to do 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, I'm going to do an exercise, I'm going to conserve. Utilize all the proteins for muscle building.
See, it all depends, see, your protein intake depends upon what exercise you will do.
Yes.
For every individual, normal, doing walk or something like that, you need at least 5 grams of protein per day. Okay.
Yes.
Suppose if you are 80 kg, you take 80 grams, where are you putting it? How much?
So I will tell you where you will get. If you are able to, I will tell you, if you are able to reduce your starch intake, which is what I told you first, carbs, automatically your protein intake will come up. So if I say if I give one plate, majority 80% of it is rice, your protein intake will obviously be less. Yeah. So you have to control carbs, then your protein automatically will improve.
This may go with the use, maybe the short term, maybe the.
I 100%
Many people with this, they have, when they start 3 months, they have to, so they do the 3 month exercise.
with our lifestyle, with our activities, we should not consume whey protein. There is no doubt.
So they add additives or something.
It is an isolated protein. It is, you can say it is an ultra processed food. It is because whatever is not available in nature is processed. Yes. So glucose is okay, but whatever excess will get converted into fructose, and fructose activates a lot of different things. All the things that we see in blue, hyperglycemia, increased blood pressure, leptin resistance, inflammation, hepatic insulin resistance, dyslipidemia, muscle resistance, all of this will be there because of fructose. Okay, so we need to avoid fructose. That is, the nature has made it for us to keep it as a storage mechanism. But when we are not using fasting, this is going to be detrimental. Okay, so that is about the and absorption is also one source of chronic what do we call it? Lipopolysaccharides in the portrait. So chronic inflammation is one of the source of chronic inflammation. So that is about the fructose and
What
about
about
fat?
regarding to the dysbiosis, when you keep fasting, this whatever the bad bacteria tries to die, good bacteria tries, because for a bad bacteria it needs lot of calories. That is fasting also in a way reducing the income.
Yeah, and
But they say prolonged fasting, even good bacteria also die.
So that's out of basic
so
concept.
they will start eating
Maybe 2 days in a weekend.
I'm saying 2 to 3 days.
Animal kingdom, lions, they don't eat for 2 days. They eat for 2 days, they eat protein. They leave all the skin and fat, they just have the protein. And they don't eat anything for 2 days. Even if we are there. Only when they start getting hungry, and then they go for it.
Animals know it better than
Animal always better than human being.
Animal.
Human being can't daily.
They are not
When you eat, animal don't have. When you eat food also they have.
That's about the things. The first one is control carbs. Carbs we have to control and avoid fructose. Direct fructose we have to avoid. And next comes fat. So when we were studying MBBS, I think we all knew that saturated fats are the reason for heart attacks, systemic heart disease, stroke. So that the reason is saturated fat. So so there are fat is not one thing actually. There are many things in subcomponents in fat. Some fats are detrimental. Some fats are essential. Some fats are neutral. So and some fats are definitely bad. Like trans fats, I go for some trans fats. Trans fats was one of the major food industry product produced around 50 years back. Now it has been banned in many of the European countries. Even in India, you are not supposed to use 0.2 gram or more than that. But some amount of trans fats is there in almost all the processed food. Trans fats are like DDT. it goes into the body, it is not metabolized. It will get stored wherever it is, in the liver, muscle, heart, it will get stored forever until we die. It is always there. Trans fats are not metabolized, so they are harmful. Okay. Then comes saturated fats. So the American Heart Association received massive funding from Procter and Gamble around 1960s around, and then one of the investigators was funded by Procter and Gamble, which made one of these trans fat, the Cresco oil, and in the many studies which they did, they concluded that it is the saturated fat which are clean. But actually they just wanted to hide that trans fats are harmful. So actually if we go into the research of nutrition field, around 50% of the research is bogus. So it will actually become a sort of a pseudoscience. Nutrition becomes a pseudoscience because there is so much garbage there, we will not be able to know which is correct, which is wrong. So that is the problem. Okay. So saturated fats, thereafter it has been, multiple studies have shown that consumption of saturated fats is not associated with any excess mortality. So we fear fats, but actually fats are not, especially saturated fats are not to be feared. Then I come to omega-6. Omega-6 is a polyunsaturated fatty acid. It is an essential component of our inflammatory pathways. All the leukotrienes and TNF-alpha and all the inflammatory pathway, they contain omega-6. Whenever we get any infection, we need this omega-6 fatty acids to give inflammation so that we are able to act against that microbe. Excess of omega-6 is going to activate our immune system. It's going to cause chronic inflammation. Excess of omega-6 is bad. And where do we find this omega-6? It is in our oils. All the oils that we use, seed oils, are the major source of omega-6. And so there is a ratio, omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. Omega-3 is supposed to be beneficial. It is going to reduce inflammation and it is going to improve the membrane stability. And omega-6 is the opposite. We don't need both. We need omega-6, we need omega-3 as well. But the ratio, optimal ratio is 1:1. And otherwise we can go into 1:3, 1:4 of omega-3 to omega-6 is also okay. But current ratios in our protein diet, we are having around 1:24 to 1:50. That is the current ratio with our normal diet, whatever we are doing. So we have to reduce our omega-6. The seed oils we have to reduce. Sources of omega-3 are less actually. It's in nuts. And so fish is a major source of omega-3. And it is not found, it's very small amount of omega-3 is there in the nuts, so we will not be able to consume so much. So in our diet, omega-6 has become more, that is one of the things. So fish and the nuts are the major source of omega-3 which we need to take. Then there is something called medium chain fatty acids, like coconut oil is a medium chain fatty acid. So it doesn't need vesicle formation and lactase for absorption of the medium chain fatty acids. They directly enter and they go into the system and portal veins. So the problem is they are actually neutral in the sense that they doesn't cause any increase in heart attack or anything. They are neutral, but when we are taking medium chain fatty acids along with omega-6, the liver gets burdened and it's going to develop fatty liver disease. So it's sort of a good thing, bad thing combined. Then comes monounsaturated fatty acids like oleic acid. But almost everyone puts it in the cold this one and fries. So once we fry, once we heat the olive oil, it becomes trans fat. The cis bond becomes transported. So it's going to be detrimental. Whenever we want to use olive oil, we should always use it without using salad. Yes, salad dressing or something. Olives and salad. Yes, yes, not in it. Even around 150 degrees, which is easily achievable, it becomes a trans fat.
So olive oil should not be.
Olive oil, no cooking. Cooking. Only for salad. It is good. It is good. But not for frying. Not for frying. Not even heating. 150 degrees easily you can make it. You want to use it for frying medium chain, that's okay. So yeah. Coconut oil.
In India, there is no virginity.
You can't get virgin oil in India.
So all the available commercial oils are seed oils.
Seed oil.
And Tuppa is actually saturated fat. It is good. Yeah. So it has got a high burning point, smoking point we call it. So you can easily do it.
Butter
Butter is good.
You can check in available. 1 kg of peanut is around 50 rupees. Right? So we check in the Google, you need around 2.5 kgs of peanuts to get 1 liter of groundnut oil. Right? So how can some company who is a hardcore businessman? It is impossible. So it is refined means they have it. So day in and day out in hotels and all, they use the same because it is cheap. Right? And we use, and nowadays eating outside is an habit. Weekly once we go outside. Weekly once is fine at least. If you go out 3 times, Zomato, Swiggy is a cancer to the society. Zomato, Swiggy is a cancer to the society. All my hospital admitted patients, I food from Zomato, Swiggy.
So then there are, I'll finish fast, otherwise it's going to take further. So there is last one, essential fatty acid. We need essential fatty acids because they are not produced in the body. And EPA and DHA are two types of essential fatty acids. They are only available in fish. So vegetarians will have a hard time getting essential fatty acids. And it is also available in nuts. That ALA, we call it, alpha linoleic acid, is available in nuts for some amount. Otherwise, it's only found in fish. So essential fatty acids are required, and we are taking them less. So again, the ratio is important. We are going more towards harmful fats instead of useful fats because of our diet changes. So saturated fats was supposed to be a killer till recently. Even when we were doing the MBBS, they used to say coconut oil you should not use it; it's causing heart attacks and all those things. So with essential fatty acids, I told there is another saturated oil, which is we call it as a 6C15 pentadecanoic acid. So there is a theory. This is just a theory that one part is hyperinsulin and increased glucose. The C15 amounts, the amount of C15 which we are consuming, it's a saturated fatty acid. Over a period of hundreds to 200 years, the amount of C15 is actually coming down. So there is one theory which says all these chronic conditions, diabetes, hypertension, aging, nowadays even 30 to 40 years, many people get heart attacks. The one of the theory going on is there is a deficiency of this fat, pentadecanoic acid. So actually all these chronic diseases are not actually excess glucose, but it's a deficiency of one of the essential saturated fatty acid. So this theory is gaining more traction nowadays because it does all the things which are useful. mTOR inhibition, AMP kinase activation, PPR, gamma, alpha, agonist, JAK-STAT and HDAC inhibitors. So these are all associated with aging. All these JAK-STAT and HDAC and PPR, alpha, gamma, these are all associated with the aging. So the deficiency of this causes a rapid aging as well as all the metabolic disease. So what we are typically seeing is nowadays, previously people who used to get heart attack used to get at 60-70 years of age. Now the median has shifted to around 40 years of age. And why this is happening is because this C15 is required for membrane stability, and almost all cells have a membrane, bilipid membrane, and they need to be mobile and agile. And so whenever this membrane stability is affected, they get easily denatured. And this is also required for fighting of oxidation reaction. So each molecule of glucose that we consume, each molecule of ATP that we produce is going to throw radical oxygens. We call it as a reactive oxygen species. To save, it's just like a fire. We need a sparkle for producing energy. But whenever there is a deficiency of this, this is like a dry twig, so it can become a fire. So C15 deficiency, which is available in full fat meat and fish, associated with excess
polyunsaturated omega-6 fatty acids will lead to membrane fragility, and RBCs are supposed to be very what do we say, agile actually. They need to go in between the sinusoids, make way, and then come out through the capillaries. So one of the easy way of identifying this is that RDW. Whenever we see RDW is affected, we see that their lifespan is also low. So those who have lived for a long time, 90 years, 100 years, they are having a less RDW, which is a predictor of longevity. And this membrane problems can cause liver deposition of iron. In the presence of iron, there is a lipid peroxidation, which leads to increased reactive oxygen species, and this is being supposed to be associated with all the chronic diseases. Okay. So with this I'll end. So there are three things: control carbs, prioritize proteins, don't fear fats, especially saturated fats and non-unsaturated fats. There was a fight whether diabetes is reversible or irreversible. It's a lifestyle disease, and majority, and we don't see pancreatic cells necrosis even in end-stage diabetes. So all the changes are actually reversible. But if you don't change our diet, 100% we are not going to be successful in reversing diabetes.
So final recipe, sir, in a plate, what else should we have?
Eat whatever you want.
Whatever we are eating.
Plate.
So in a plate, you see, majority 70% of it will be rice.
No.
Vegetables are 10%. Some other things will be less.
That's right. That varies. I don't see. It all you are talking about the business where there are major rice eaters. When you come to North Karnataka, we don't eat rice. Our staple food is jawar, which is one of the best.
That is also source of glucose.
But
That is source of fructose. There is no difference here.
jawar is better than your rice.
I don't think so.
See, the problem is with the pesticides, man. Why do you want to blame the grains for it? Problem is with the pesticides. Why blame the grains? So now, how do you actually improve that microbiome equation, and how do you prevent the microbiome?
Stop ultra-processed food, first thing. Add more fibers. So fibers, if you add in your diet, that microbiome automatically will take care of it. You don't need to do anything else. Just add fibers, because the food for the gut microbiome is the fiber. Fiber is not actually soluble. We thought for many years we thought it's not a nutrient, but it is actually a fiber which correct gut microbiome. That will be all the things. That is one thing, fiber. And the other one is fermented. So these two are the
So all this
yes, all the fermented foods and fiber which are good sources so yes, that is correct actually. Not for everyone. For example, for South Indians, Breakfast time by 1 hour. You make the dinner time 1 hour. Slowly,
Keep the